You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast and Saturday live stream. I'm your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You know where you can find me on Twitter at DP_NFL, National Scout over with the Draft Network. And guys, happy Saturday. Thank y'all for tapping in with us. You already know what we tell you, man. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, right? Like, hop into the comments, right? Into the live comment section. And we can bring any comments you have on, any questions you have on screen, but also hit the bell notification as well. But I got to kick it over to my guy, Mr. LSU, the champ, guys. He's the champ. He's got a ring to prove it. My boy, Keith Sanchez. Keith, now last week wasn't a beautiful Saturday for me. It was rainy. Today is beautiful out, man. How's it going for you over in Nolan?
DP, like I always say on Saturdays, man, life is good. It is what it should be. It's another beautiful Saturday morning. DP is not just a Saturday morning. It is a LSU homecoming Saturday morning. So, people are out and buzzing already. But, man, DP just, we talked LSU's homecoming. But, and we have a hell of a slate on deck, DP. We have Ohio State, Penn State matchup, and it's an early kickoff, right? So, like Coach O used to say, man, tape your ankles early and often, man. This is 11 o'clock Central kickoff, man. Ohio State versus Penn State. Then 2:30, DP, 2:30 Central time, we get Tennessee versus Alabama. Then finishing up, right, talking nightcap, we get a Duke, Florida State matchup and the Utah, USC matchup. So, DP, we're going to switch up the floor a little bit, right? Because we usually do pickups at the end, but we kind of wanted to keep this in the flow of the show, right? So while we talk about the matchups, we'll talk about who's going to win the game, per each matchup. So let's have this conversation. Let's get into this Ohio State versus Penn State. DP, you have two of the highest ranked defenses in this matchup. Two quarterbacks in Drew Aller and Kyle McCord that people are still trying to figure out if they like them or not, right? You're just trying to figure out if they like them or not. But what we know is this: there's a ton of playmakers on both sides of the football for both teams, right? So let's get into it. DP, you want to jump in Ohio State versus Penn State? Let's talk about it.
No, and Keith, this game has some interesting players that's going to be missing, right? Yesterday's pod, when we did the Where You At segment, I had Emeka Egbuka. Well, we're not going to find out where he's at because he's supposed to be doubtful with the lower body injury. And then Denzel Burke got hurt last week with a lower body injury. So he's going to be out today. So what does that put the onus on in terms of draft prospects for me, Keith? Two guys that you talked about last Friday on Where You At, Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau. Like, these guys got to show up today, right? When your star corner, your top defensive back is out of this game, you got to get pressure. Not just get pressure, Keith, but you got to stop the run with Nick Singleton, right? Katron Allen, that play action passing game with Drew Aller. You got to get into the backfield. You got to set the edges. And we already know, like, on the interior D-line, which we talked about numerous of times this year, Tyleik Williams, Michael Hall, two of the best interior defensive linemen in the nation. I think those guys will be able to hold their own. But I need to see Jack Sawyer and JT step up when it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10. If you can get them in 3rd and 12, can you make your presence felt? Now, you remember last year, Keith, JT had that like all-pro game. He had like two sacks, a pick,
all-time game,
just an incredible defensive game. But the crazy thing about it, none of that came against Olu Fashanu. He was on the other side of Olu every time he made impact. Can we see him matched up against Olu? And if so, can he stop Olu from? Because Olu's pitched the shutout, Keith. No sacks. Then one pressure, only one hurry this season.
Looking like offensive tackle one right now. He's
as he would have been came out in 2023.
Yeah, as he would have been in 2023. Now, this Ohio State, so the offense, DP, because I want to go to this one matchup. We're talking about Marvin Harrison Jr., right? We're talking about wide receiver one, and it's almost that unspoken thing of you can't even think about another wide receiver that can possibly replace Marvin Harrison Jr. So you have Marvin Harrison Jr., then who you have going against him? Kalen King, right? And Kalen King is my CB 1A, 1B right now. Like, I think for me, it's close between him and Kool-Aid McKinstry, the cornerback from Alabama, who we'll talk about in a couple minutes. But I just can't wait to see that matchup, DP. Just watch them two go at it because Kalen King is extremely competitive. Marvin Harrison Jr., his approach is similar to his father's, right? Where they don't talk much, they don't say much, they just go out there and they just ball out. So that's the matchup I'm looking for because I think this is two of the highest rated defenses, I believe. I think they both rank top 10 in the entire country. So who's going to make a big play, right? Like, that's going to be the question. Who's going to make a big play? Because I think this thing is going to come down to field position, DP. Like, it's going to be a field position type game where, you know, it's going to be the punt, right? Who doesn't fair catch the punt and let the punt go extra 20, 30 yards? Which field goal kicker makes it? But also, it's going to be, like I said, the big plays. Who's going to be able to take that shot play and who's going to come down with the football? And obviously, you have Marvin Harrison Jr. And if you're that type of playmaker, you have to make those plays.
No, 100%. And a guy that I think can raise his stock, you're talking about a stock up game, with Emeka Egbuka out, keep your eye on number 4 wide receiver from Ohio State, Julian Fleming. A guy that's, I believe he's a senior this year, draft eligible guy. Yeah, he's a senior this season. And, you know, he only has 162 passing yards. Again, if this was a CJ Stroud-led passing attack, all their numbers look vastly different, much more production, right? Kyle McCoy is taking some time to get going, but with Emeka Egbuka out, Fleming has to step up.
Yeah, all right. And then, are you buying into Kyle McCoy? Where are you at with Kyle McCoy, the Ohio State quarterback? Because he's picked it up a little bit. It's not what it was the very first game of the season, and it's not CJ Stroud or, you know, any of those Justin Fields, right, when he was at Ohio State either. But where are you at with him? That's kind of my question, right? Like, where are you at with Kyle McCoy? Is he good enough to beat a really good defense?
I think if you give him enough opportunities, yeah, right? Like we watched the Maryland game, and it was close, and it looked like it was going to potentially kind of slide into Maryland's, the momentum, but then the defense forced, turnovers, and it gave him the ball back. I think for him, once you get him going, his confidence picks up, then you start seeing him play better football. So I think the more opportunities he has, the better he can be, but I'm still not sold on him just yet. This is a game where against a defense, Keith, we talk about Chop Robinson. Yeah, but Penn State got another dude, Keith, Adisa Isaac. Yeah, I think he's their leading sack artist right now.
Yeah, Adisa Isaac, and then their backup, the guy they pull off of the bench, Dennis Sutton. So they have 3 in rotation, and it's almost opposite, right? Because for Ohio State, the edge rushers are not producers, more the interior defensive line. For Penn State, it's the edge rushers that are coming through, like you said, Chop Robinson, Adisa Isaac, and Dennis Sutton. That I think they come in to wreck the game, DP. They're coming to put it on notice. And then on a second level, DP, they have Abdul Carter, linebacker, who some people believe this could potentially be the best linebacker in the entire nation, right? Like, he could be LB1. He does a lot of versatile things for Penn State. So I'm looking towards that matchup, right? Can Penn State's edge rushers dominate this game like last year? There's a Ohio State edge rusher when we talked about JT Tuamamalu. So I want to get into this real quick, DP, before we transition. Simply, who's going to win the game? Who's going to win the game? We looked at both rosters, talked about the quarterbacks, talked about the defensive lines. Who's going to win the game for you?
I think it comes down to which quarterback do you trust. I really like Drew Allen. He's young, and everything. I think both of those guys are kind of young in terms of playing time, but he's a true sophomore. You know what I mean? So it's like this is the biggest game of his career right now. I am going to go because I think Trevion Henderson, all the running backs supposed to be back and healthy, ready to go for this game for Ohio State. All 3 of their backs. I'm gonna go Ohio State. I think it's going to be a close game. They are at home, so I think that crowd's going to play a big role in helping them secure this win. One name to remember defensively, Johnny Dixon. That's the opposite corner of Kalen King. Neither one of these guys have given up, in terms of receptions. Both have only allowed 9, and neither one of them has allowed over 100 yards this season in coverage. Both of them are playing lockdown defense. They got a tough test today.
Yeah, okay. This is one of those situations where I like to say, DP, we both cannot be right because I am going with Penn State. I'm going to Penn State to roll into Columbus and get the upset. I'm just trusting. It's not about what I trust for Penn State. It's about what I don't trust for Ohio State, right? They had the one big win against Notre Dame, and that was it was a tough win, but it was last second, Kyle McCord didn't look great, right? It was the last second drive for the touchdown and those type of situations. I can't trust that, DP, because that was your highest level of competition. And Notre Dame, we can't say that Notre Dame is a top 10 team, right? They may be top 15 or top 20. I think this Penn State defense is for real. I think it's by far the most competitive and most talented defense that they're going to face. So I think they're going to put Kyle McCord in some tough situations. Ohio State offensive line, we still have question marks outside of Donovan Jackson, right? So I'm going to go Penn State, them to get the run game going, them to attack the edges, and I'm going to go Penn State to win this football game. I do think it's going to be close. I'm taking the under, right? Because you're talking about two great defenses, but I'm definitely taking Penn State in this game with DP. Now we go to SEC country. We have SEC country on tap, and I don't know if this is setting for a setup. I'm sorry. I don't know what it's setting up for, right? Tennessee versus Alabama. Last year, we'd have been looking at this for, a potential upset game, right? Like we'd be like, okay, can Tennessee upset Alabama? But this version of Tennessee is not last version of Tennessee, right? Like people say, man,
not offensively.
Today's price is not last, it's just today's price. So you also have an Alabama team with a quarterback in Jalen Milroe who appears to be finding his stride. But I want to ask you, Jalen Milroe, let's start right there. Are you comfortable with you seeing with him right now?
Yeah, no, I'm comfortable because I'm seeing growth as a passer, being there, especially down the field, to generate those big play opportunities, right? Because when you think about what he brings, Keith, if you say Jalen Milroe made an explosive play, what is people going to think? They're going to think, oh, he made it with his legs. He ran the ball. But no, he's shown over the past couple of weeks, I can push the ball down the field. I can throw with arc and trajectory. I can throw with touch down the field and get it to my playmakers. And I think that's what helps this offense, right? Because I think with him in the backfield and whoever's in the backfield and running back, they can run the ball. But it's like, now can you turn the attention that you're going to get from a run defense standpoint and get single high and then be able to attack and win vertically down the field? And he's been able to do that. The thing for me, Keith, is Joe Milton for Tennessee. Like, this is a potential statement game for you, right? Because when you look at what he's done, like we watched, and I was the one that believed, right? He's completing 61.5% of his passes, only 1,200, close to 1,300 yards passing, less than 7 yards per attempt, 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, right? And it's like, we watched Hendon Hooker light it up in this same off. Now I get it. Cedric Tillman's not there. Jalen Hyatt is not there. Darnell Wright is not there. I get that. But Joe Milton is like a more talented player. So you expected to see, well, man, then this kind of QB-friendly offense, see the numbers explode for Joe Milton finally. And it's not been the case. And against this pass rush for Bama, with Chris Braswell and Dallas Turner flying off the edges, if they can't get that run game going, man, it's going to be a long day for Joe Milton.
Yeah, so let's start with the pass rushers that you left off Alabama. I think this team as a whole is starting to find their identity, right? And their identity is their pass rushers, right? And the fact that they can rush in waves. And you're talking about Chris Braswell, you're talking about Dallas Turner. I really like those two guys, right? And then they have some, a couple of young defensive backs, but then also Kool-Aid is locked down. So I think this defense is starting to find its identity, but also offensively, right? And I think is this: we're gonna run the football and we're gonna take deep shots, right? With Jalen Milroe and let him take his shots, but we're gonna try to play some type of ball control offense, right? But we're also gonna mix in some shot plays and take those big shots, right? And hopefully we get, even if it's not a completion, right? We still get a pass interference call, or we get, something of that nature to where we're still moving a chain. So I think that's what the best version of this Alabama team could be. Now you ask me, okay, Tennessee, do they have the chance to upset Alabama? I'm going to go no. I just don't see it, because I don't see it from this Tennessee team. I think in every moment that was a big moment, that moment would look a little too big for Joe Milton, right? It seems that this offense for Tennessee is still operating out of sync, right? Like everything last year flowed, right? Everything, all of the reads, the progressions, the play calling, everything kind of it stacked itself on each other, right? To right when the defense was making another adjustment, the offense had an answer for that already, right? You don't see that with this version of the Tennessee's offense. Joe Milton, I don't know if he's not processing as quick as what our guy Hendon Hooker did last year, but there's just something missing, even the big play explosiveness, right? And you could see that it's still baked into this offense, right? Like that is the foundation of his offense, is the big players, right? The vertical routes. But for whatever reason, it's just not connecting. So I'm DP. You asked me. We look at this matchup from who I think is going to win. I'm gonna have to say Bama. I think Bama's going to win this game. I think they're the team where their stock is it didn't explode up, right? But it's
Yeah.
gradually growing and it's gradually getting higher. And you're looking at a guy like a Jermaine Burton who's starting to emerge and who is extremely talented coming out of high school. And just the past 2 years with Bama, was it 2 years or 1 year? I think it was 2 years with Bama. He just, I mean, it was 1 year. I'm sorry, 1 year with Bama.
Yeah.
It was drop passes. It was, he just looked out of sync. But now it looks like he's the go-to guy and he's starting to find his rhythm as a receiver. So I just think the Bama arrow was pointing up.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Keith. I'm picking Bama as well at home. A matchup that I am looking forward to seeing, and hopefully we get to see it, is the leading pass rusher for Tennessee. He's not draft eligible yet, but James Pierce Jr. versus hopefully J.C. Latham, the right tackle for Bama, as well as just another potential stock rising game. Javonte Spraggins, a guy we talked about in the summer during summer scouting, 6'3", 325-pounder, a guy that has pretty good footwork and nimbleness, but also physicality in the run game. So want to see him and how he handles this front line for Bama. Because again, even if you lose the game, but you show out well, scouts are going to be there. That's going to help your draft stock, Keith. But man, listen, you know what I'm saying? And we talk about, Joe Milton and all that. But keep your eye on Terrion Arnold, Malachi Moore. This secondary, it doesn't get a lot of talk for some reason for Bama, Keith, but it's a lot of dudes back there. I wanted to let everybody who's watching know that and appreciate everybody that's tuning in right now. But Keith, Duke versus go ahead.
No, I'm about to say Terrion Arnold is playing much better football. This is a converted safety to the cornerback position, and he's playing much better. Last year, he lacked instincts. It was a lot going on with Terrion that you was like, man, you just simply need the reps, and you look like mentally you're behind, right? Like, and you need those mental reps to kind of get you everything in tune because you are a high level athlete. But he's playing much better football right now. But I want to tell the viewers, right, man, y'all drop your comments. Like, if y'all like what we're saying, comment on it. We'll pull it up on the screen. We'll talk about it. Let's have a conversation. This is Saturday. This is college football. This is what we're talking about. We hopped on here to have a conversation with y'all also. So, man, make sure y'all jump in and comment with us also. But DP, I know you was about to transition, or I think you was about to transition to this Duke and Florida State matchup. Where do you want to start with that?
Oh, man, the Riley Leonard may not be playing in this game. Still with I think it's the high ankle sprain. It looks like he's probably still going to be out, and that's tough, right? Because that's their most impactful offensive weapon. Like, that's the quarterback. And now you starting someone. I think it's Henry Beneville. I think it was the young man's name. But Keith, Graham Barton, one of the best offensive linemen. He might be this year's Peter Skoronski. Just a kind of news flash for people who don't know about him. He's going to be that really talented tackle, good athlete, good mover, good latch strength, all that good stuff. And then it's like, well, how long is his arms? All right, he's playing guard. Say less. That's kind of what the storyline for him is going to point to. But he's going to have a really good matchup versus Florida State's Jarrett Verse when they do see each other. And again, another opportunity for a player to have a quote unquote statement or stock rising game. I'm looking forward to seeing how, because Jarrett Verse's numbers haven't been what we expected, but he's still been impactful. You know what I mean? But I want to see how he handles Graham Barton, who's very technically sound and just a really good football player.
Yeah, if there's anything to take from this matchup is that, right? To see two potential first round picks go at it, right? To line up across from each other, and you just get the pass rush reps, right? Because these are NFL pass rush reps, right? That's an NFL talent versus an NFL talent. So this is a resume game for both players, right? And it'll be interesting to see who kind of catapults right from this situation, and then who maybe declines, right? Like, okay, well, he was overwhelmed by that player. One player is able to establish the elite kind of sector. So the conversation around this Duke Florida State game is going to be Duke's defense is really good, right? But I would counter argue that, right, and make the counterpoint that Florida State has seen a highly talented defense already in Clemson's defense, right? It could potentially be 5 first rounders on that defense, and they handled them well, right? Like, maybe who knows if they want, that one play, right, with Cade Klubnik and the strip sack fumble and all that other stuff, but they was competitive, right? They went into Clemson and they put up points in that game, right? The offense put up points. So I'm by no means, DP, honestly concerned. It's just this Florida State team is loaded. We talked about it preseason. We talked about it after week 1. We talked about it after week 3. Those guys are those guys. Keon Coleman is that dude. Jaheim Bell is that dude. They have two running backs, right, with Trey Benson and Lawrence Toafoli. You have what? Bell, you have Jaheim Bell, right, at the tight end position. Johnny Wilson is coming back. Johnny Wilson didn't even play last week. I think they still scored 40 points. So I just think this Florida State team is too talented, and I don't think defensively what Duke is going to do. And this is no shot at head coach Mike Elko. He's a great defensive coordinator. I just think it simply comes down to dudes, right? And I don't know if you can scheme up that much. The Florida State just has the most dudes.
I mean, Duke is going to need Dwayne Carter to show up big time today.
Big time.
Like,
he's going to have to make game-changing plays. It's not tackles, anything
he
like
needs
that.
it, Keith. Because right now, like, he has, eight pressures, 1 QB hit, 1 sack on the season, and over 130 pass rush snaps. Like, that's not gonna get it done today, right? And now don't get it twisted. Like, they have their defense has, you know, some guys in the back end, Brandon Johnson at safety who flies around, but keep your eyes on former Miami Hurricane corner Al Blades Jr. This season targeted 21 times, only allowing 7 receptions for 33% completion, and 55 yards in coverage. 2 PBUs, no INTs, no TDs allowed. So you're talking about that matchup for him against Johnny Wilson, right? Or against Keon Coleman. That's big. I think he's a bigger corner too. I think he's like 6'1", 6'1". So he's a guy that can match up physically with these guys. But again, the firepower is just too much. It's too potent. Florida State's gonna win this game, and I wouldn't be surprised. Especially, no Riley Leonard, man. Like that hurts, because he's one of your best playmakers. But keep your eye on Jalen Calhoun, the wide receiver. He's a senior. I would love to see him down at the Senior Bowl, because this young man can run routes. He can separate. He's really good. You know what I mean? A really good player. But without QB1 in the backfield, it's an uphill climb, and it's one of them hills that you just can't climb. It's Mount Everest, and I don't think that even Mike Elko, as great of a coach he is, it's going to take a Hall of Fame elite coaching job, right, to be able to pull off this victory. Florida State. I think Florida State wins by 2 touchdowns, Keith.
Yeah, it's just gonna be too much, and I know ESPN has hyped it up and stuff like that. I think the roster is just it's an unbalanced roster at this point. But DP, let's keep it going West Coast, right? We're taking it to the West Coast, man. We have a Utah versus USC. Storylines, right? And all the storylines point to Caleb Williams, and it's so many different levels, right? And we talked about it a little bit on the podcast. It's the Caleb Williams QB1, is that in question now, right? It's the Drake May is going to overtake him, right? It's the Caleb Williams. Does he have a bad personality type situation, bad leadership skills, right? We can expect to see this picture, DP. The Caleb Williams painting his fingernails last year, right? And it was in the Utah game, right? It was does Utah have his number? Because if they win this game, this would be the 3rd time. I think they beat them twice last year, right? They beat them once in the regular season and once in the championship game. So that's all the narratives, DP. And this thing it almost feels like it can go off the rails rather quickly, right? But let's talk about the game. What are your expectations with this football game?
My expectation is to see Caleb come out and reassert himself. So people, like Aaron Rodgers said a couple years ago, RELAX, baby, relax. I think this is going to be a game for him to do that.
Does he have the weapons to do it? That's my question, because I watched this Notre Dame game, and obviously they have Brendan Rice, right, son of Hall of Famer Jerry Rice, who's a wide receiver. They have Mario Williams, right, and I think that's his 2 biggest weapons. Then after that, can you say it's somewhat of a drop off, right, just a little bit, or who showed up for them? So I want to ask, does he have the weapons to overcome this type of situation?
I think he does. I mean, you got to get the freshmen involved, man. Zachariah Branch, like he was rolling the first 2 weeks and making big time plays for you, explosive plays for you. And it's like, what happened, right? And then they got another young man, Raleek Brown, I believe is his last name. Kind of running back, slot wide receiver hybrid, dynamic, explosive, quick twitch, elusive. You want to be able to get, like, especially after the Notre Dame game, like you saw Caleb struggle with pressure. Okay, you know how you fix that? Quick game. Get the ball out. Get the ball out in space. Get it to his receivers. Get it to his running backs, right? Marshawn Lloyd, get the run game going. Alex Jones, get the run game going. Do things that will alleviate some of that pressure off of him so he doesn't have to be Superman. Because I think that's what Caleb gets himself in trouble. When he starts acting like an Avenger, when he starts acting like he has these otherworldly superpowers, which trust me, your traits are elite, brother, but you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders all the time. And that's what Lincoln Riley has to get these other guys involved, Keith.
So are you okay? That's from a scheme perspective, right? But I look at this team and I ask it: is this just Oklahoma out west, right? Like the same exact recipe? Did he just pick up and do the same thing with USC, right? Because it seems that every time a Lincoln Riley team goes against a physical football team, that physical football team takes it to Lincoln's Riley football team, right? And that's my question: is that okay? Is this going to be just rinse and repeat, right? When you talk about Baker Mayfield, you talk about Kyler Murray, right? Well, they're going to have really good careers, right? They're going to do some really good things, but when it comes down to it and they have to play physical football teams, they're going to get boat raced. And then there's nothing that the quarterback can do because it's going to be replicated, right? It's like, okay, cool. A running back out of the backfield. We have 2 potential second round draft picks, right? At wide receiver. And then the offensive line is okay. But on the defensive side of the ball, DP, this is what I want, DP. I want a friend that's as loyal to me, that Lincoln Riley is as loyal to Alex Grinch. I cannot believe it, DP. Listen, when you took the job, and I'm not calling for Alex Grinch to get fired, DP, but when you took the job at USC, that was your opportunity to part ways, right? To say that, to part ways, to say, like, look, and you can say anything, right? I'm going to go with a different defensive coordinator, but look, you can leave Oklahoma and come with me and be the linebacker coach, right? Or be the safeties coach, right? Or you want to coach D-line, right? I'll still pay you $800,000. I just can't let you call my defense because I've seen what this looked like with Oklahoma, right? But you take them and you say, man, I know that was bad, but I believe in you. So come with me to California and do the same exact thing you were doing in Oklahoma. That's loyalty, DP. I don't think it gets any more loyal to where somebody shows you that they're not good at something. And you say, you know what? I don't care. And it's something that's directly impacting you. It is directly impacting your team. And you say, you know what? I'm rolling with it.
There's a phrase, Keith. When people show you who they are, believe them.
Believe them.
And Alex Grinch, the coach, you got to believe what you see. Simple as that. Keith, I think for Utah's defense, they're going to miss out on their some may call him their best player. Some may call him the second best player. Cole Bishop, the safety. He got hit with a fluky targeting call, I think, last week. So he's out for the first half of this game. So that's a big blow to their secondary. I'm going to tell you a name to watch, guys. Jonah Ellis. That he's a top pass rusher for Utah. I believe he has 9 sacks on the season. Man, and like I said, Cole Bishop has been playing very good football. But Jonah Ellis, man, 16 pressures, 9 sacks on the season. This young man has been playing lights out. And they move him all around the defense, does a lot of different things, right? He's got a forced fumble as well on the season. And when, again, we watched that offensive line struggle to protect Caleb. You got to keep Jonah Ellis off of your quarterback. Got to keep him out of the backfield. Because if you can keep him out of the backfield, you're going to be in a good spot. So I think that's one of those guys you're talking about for Utah's defense. Offensively, they're solid. They're okay. You know what I mean? Like, they're okay. And I think now the problem is they're okay, but USC's defense.
they're okay against everybody else. Against USC defense, they might be really good. That's the issue.
Bro, I don't know who's playing quarterback today for Utah. I don't know if it's going to be, I think, Nate Johnson or what. Like, listen, and truthfully,
they
may not even matter, right?
Quarterback system from time to time.
You know, Bryson Barnes, Nate Johnson, whoever's at quarterback, Keith. If they throw for 300, 400 yards, I don't know what to say to Lincoln Riley. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you want? Like, the loyalty got to end at some point, brother. Like, you can't keep doing this if you're trying to make the
what it is, DP? It's Lincoln Riley with Alex Grinch, and it's Mike Tomlin with Matt Canada, right? Like, you won't find 2 more loyal head coaches to their coordinators.
Listen, life ain't fair, man. So you got to teach these guys that life ain't fair. Sometimes when you produce bad results, bad things happen. And I will say this, Keith, to when it comes to USC's passing game, another wide receiver that I forgot to mention that they got to get the ball to, he's their leading receiver right now, and that's Taj Washington. 497 yards, 5 touchdowns. Him and Brendan Rice are the top 2, but then there is a drop off, and I'm not understanding what is going on, because you got those 2 around close to over 450 yards receiving a piece. Then it drops to Mario Williams at 234, Zachariah Branch at 195. Dorian Singer was a guy that they brought over from Arizona that we expected to be a big part of this offense. They have the weapons, Keith. The talent-wise, they have the weapons. I'm looking at Lincoln Riley. What are you calling? Well, and now, don't get me wrong, Caleb Williams has turned down some throws. He's turned down some open reads. He's got to hit these guys when they're open, when they're ready for the football. So, Keith, who are you picking in this game?
I want to pick Caleb Williams and USC, DP. I really want to, DP. I really want to. But I last week, right? Last year, right? The couple Oklahoma teams. This just like if it's statistically, this is saying that this team is going to lose, right? Like when I just look at it, DP, because you know what Utah is going to do. They're going to come in there, they're going to pound the rock, they're going to use 2 tight ends. They might even put an extra offensive lineman there at times. They're going to make the game physical. They're going to make a couple big plays. Like they're going to harass the quarterback, and they're going to get out of here with a win. Like that's my heart says USC and Caleb Williams, right? And then my head says the mental part, the analyst part says that Utah is going to win this football game. I'm going to decide to go with the mental part. I'm going to say that Utah's going to win this game. And guess what? If USC wins, at least my heart, you know what I'm saying? My heart is going to feel okay. But I'm going to go Utah, DP. I think Utah's going to win this football game.
Well, Keith, this is where we part ways again. I'm going USC. I think Caleb bounces back. I think he gets back on the horse and lets everybody relax. I'm still that dude. I'm still that guy, right? I think he
kind of had. Okay, can I ask you, bounce back game? What are your expectations? Like when we talking about
one, a win. Like, number 2, statistically, not 3 turnovers, not 3 interceptions. I think he gets back to that 3-4 touchdown kind of dual threat type of stuff that he's done, where he might have 2 through the air, 2 on the ground in the red zone, making his type of plays that we're accustomed to seeing Caleb Williams make. But I think he will have to make more plays in structure, because Utah was one of the first defenses that I saw cage rush him last year and force him to play from the pocket. And he didn't look the same. And I think that's what you looked at. Notre Dame's game plan was like rush up field, give no back doors, and make him sit. And we saw him drift back. So I think today he showcases that, hey, I can play within structure. I can make the plays that are necessary, and we're going to get the win today.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish it up with this. That I even with me picking Utah, like that's not about Caleb Williams, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about that they almost lost to Arizona in double overtime. Why were you in double overtime with Arizona? I'm thinking about and Caleb Williams played well that game. I'm thinking about last year, DP in the Cotton Bowl, right? You lost to Tulane with Caleb Williams, right? Caleb scored 38, and I think Tulane scored 41, right? So that's the part that kind of got me. I think this defense is reeling right now. I don't think they know if they have any answers, right? I expect them to try to put some new players on the field, try some different things out. But Utah, they're just steady as they always are, right? Like this Utah team, they're just always the same. And that's just a 9 to 10 win team that's just gonna punch you in the mouth. And you better bring your hard hats and your lunch pails and get ready for football. And I don't know if USC is gonna bring that with them. But DP, that wraps up this Saturday show, man. We want to thank you for everybody tapping in, man. I see we have some viewers in here, man. We want to say shout out to you guys for tapping in with us Saturday. We do this every single Saturday, so make sure to tap in with us. Like we said, man, drop y'all comments. Y'all let us know how y'all feel. But man, look, it's Saturday. Y'all enjoy. If y'all have a day off, y'all enjoy the day off. If not, just enjoy college football, man. Watch some football. Eat you some good food. Spend some time with the family. If you're around family, friends, right? Anything that makes you happy on this Saturday. We all for bringing good vibes and providing happy situations. So shout out to y'all from the Locked On NFL Draft Duo.
Before we go, looks like we have a special guest that just popped into the chat. Miss Sanchez, gotta give her a shout out because she said I ain't shout her up. Gotta give a shout out to Mama Sanchez. All right, gotta give a shout out to Mama Sanchez. She said, I like that you're leading with your head, young man. Good points being made. Either way, looks like you're going to be good. So listen, we'll see how this game goes, man. Everything you said, Keith, about USC, it almost made me change my pick, not gonna lie. But I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm like, hey, Caleb, you gonna score 40. We're gonna win this game, or whatever it takes to win this game, man. But guys, listen, as always, man, we always tell you, go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Thank y'all for tapping in with us, for being our everydayers and making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today, every day, Monday through Friday, and even on Saturday mornings. Guys, subscribe to the channel, like, comment, share, talk to us because we do talk back. Go to the audio side, Apple Podcast, Spotify, leave a 5-star review. Talk about your boys. Tell us what you think. Tell us some things you want us to add to the show. What some prospects you want us to talk about, stuff like that. Talk to us because we do talk back. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.